Is Tuesday, July 11th, and this is the curricular and co-curricular committee meeting for the Monroe Township Board of Education. And we have a packed agenda, it looks like tonight, so let's go ahead and get started. The first thing on our agenda is curriculum documents, and that's going to be presented to us by Dr. Kelly Roselle.
Okay, I have one curriculum document. Pretty amazing that I already have a document in July. This is for the pre-AP 1 class. This course was new and part of a pilot for our STEM students during the 22-23 school year, so this past school year. The impetus for us bringing the pre-AP English 1 and English 2 was based on feedback from our AP seminar teachers. Discussing where students had some areas for growth in the topics of writing about nonfiction texts. So traditionally, language arts classes are a little more heavy into literature and fiction texts. But our STEM students in particular are doing a lot of work with informational text, technical text and technical writing in AP seminar and AP research, and to prepare those students, but plenty of other students who might want to go into business fields, who might want to go into fields outside of the humanities. We looked at this course. This course is open access to all. So while it is weighted with honors credit, anyone can take this course. In sharing information, both with our 8th grade teachers, with parents, and with students in Jamesburg, we say that students who are interested in a field that requires significant reading, writing, and research, such as science or medicine, students who have a passion for language arts but really want to elevate their analytical skills, or students who want to pursue any series of AP courses later during their high school career, we encourage them to take the pre-AP course. It is one of 4 language arts courses that freshmen can opt into. And we did see a significant number of students opt to take this course this year. So it centers around 4 units: telling details, pivotal words and phrases, compelling evidence, and powerful endings. And just based on those unit titles, you can see we're really digging into the craft and structure of text. We're looking at how writers develop their arguments, how a specific word in a text that might be 6 pages, 8 pages, 10 pages can really change the meaning of that text. It is a nonfiction dominant course, but students still use works of fiction. There is, what I like a lot about this course is that there are specific learning checkpoints, and students complete these learning checkpoints through the College Board site, and the teachers of pre-AP get immediate feedback that can help them to reteach, review, or advance their students. And what we saw this year is the teachers were advancing their students rather quickly. Students were very successful in this course. There's also a unit performance task where students are presented with texts that they have never read before, and they're asked to write about those texts. So to really on demand provide evidence that they have transferred these skills. The curriculum, the text, all of these things do come from the College Board, but teachers can augment and supplement as they see fit. Pre-AP also comes with a subscription for Quill, which is an online grammar resource for students. And what we found this year, students got really into fine-tuning their writing and using Quill and using all of the feedback that they were given to really continue to grow in their reading. It is a reading and writing intensive course. There is the option to, like I said, use those learning checkpoints and the summative assessments. We've seen a lot of success, and we're looking forward to continuing this year and seeing what we do with students who are outside the STEM Academy taking the class.
So this is not a new class, this is a...
It was new last year, so we approved probably this time last year, probably even earlier in the spring of 2022, we approved the pre-AP. It was curriculum mapped last summer, so we did that stage 1 for each of the units, and the teacher completed the writing this year.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
So how many students took this last year? Do you know?
I can tell you we had about 60. We had two sections of
Mostly
it.
STEM students.
It was all STEM students. So we ran a pilot of it last year. And this year, because we really wanted to, it was new and we wanted to give the teachers a chance to really get their feet wet. And then we opened it up to everyone this year.
But the prereqs, like when they are recommending it, the counselors are looking at the student's ability in terms of, so you said they're.
So we have a recommendation. So I do have the program of studies pulled up. So what we suggest is to have a MAP reading score where you are meeting grade level expectations. You don't need to be exceeding. You don't need to have had an A in grade 8 language arts. And part of that is the College Board requires us to have open access to this course. This course is designed to be for everyone. So we do weight it with honors credit because it is a reading and writing intensive course, but it is open access.
And you said you were not focusing on fiction, but now that you open it up to everyone.
It's about a 70-30 split, which reflects both the NJSLS and the Common Core's split. So by the time students get to high school, out of all of the texts that they encounter, there should be about 70% is nonfiction or informational text and 30% is fiction.
So the 4 courses offered to incoming freshmen are language arts, honors language arts 1, and AP language arts.
Pre-AP.
Pre-AP.
And then world studies is the combined class with the social studies department. Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anyone else? Just one, so after the pilot program, you said there were about 60 students?
We had 60 in the pilot, yes.
So how did they do and where are they progressing to?
They did really well. Everyone's going into pre-AP too. I can pull up how many students, I think I can pull up how many students are scheduled for pre-AP 1. We also have pre-AP 2, that curriculum document's not done yet, but for sophomores. So there are 3 sections. So we will have about 90 students next year. So when we opened it up to all, we have a whole other section.
For pre-AP 2?
For pre-AP 1. So we'll have 3 sections of pre-AP 1 next year.
Right, but of those that took pre-AP 1, they're going into.
They're going into pre-AP 2, yes.
That's 100%.
And most of those students, I don't have those numbers right now. I would have to be able to get back to you. So if you want to know how many students are going to pre-AP 2 from pre-AP 1, that we would have to do a report through Genesis, and I can get that to Dr. Lehman. Anyone who is not, it is not because there were any course failures or anything else like that. It was just they may have opted, there's other options that they can take. Most of the students who do take pre-AP are also taking AP seminars, so they take those classes concurrently.
Anyone else? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the grade 6 to 8 science textbook. I would imagine that's you.
That is me. Good evening, everyone. So we did a very extensive search for a new science textbook. Our older text has just used its livelihood, I guess we could use that wording. We actually had 5 different publishers come out. The entire science team was involved, as well as special education teachers, in really making the decision to go with this text. So the text that we decided to go with is by Savas, and it's called Elevate Science. They offer it a life science, which will be for our 8th grade, physical science, which will be for our 6th grade, and earth science, which will be for our 7th grade students. Some of the reasons why this particular series was selected, it supports the next generation science standards as well as New Jersey state standards. I think everybody is probably tired of me talking about it by now, but of course, phenomenon, those are embedded throughout the text. There are hands-on labs. They're called Quest challenges. That's in every single unit. And basically, these are problem-based challenges that students need to work through as they work through the unit. They're authentic storylines, and it really helps students to be able to link the essential questions as well as the phenomenon and learning activities together to solve real-world problems. Claim evidence reasonings are also found within each chapter. There are STEM labs that teachers have the options to do that will again model the engineering and design process. And what is also nice about this is throughout, we will see an ELA and math integration where appropriate within the science text. The components include a student edition that is consumable, so they will receive that every year, as well as a digital platform that the students can log into at home that will include games, videos, virtual labs, some of those quest activities I was just describing, a multilingual glossary. The teacher's edition has full lesson plans, instructional strategies, differentiated instruction. And what's also wonderful is that the teachers can also have assessment support for designing assessments, different rubrics, different keys, as well as Savas has an entire learning library that the teachers can access as PD on demand. If they want to tackle a certain topic and they're looking for creative ideas, they can go right in, a video will show, and be able to really integrate some of those strategies into the classroom. The big selling point also was all of the worksheets and assessments are fully editable. So if they want to be able to take it, put it into a Google Doc, they can then edit to meet the needs of all the learners in their classroom.
And we're going with hard copy books because we're in the middle school and we don't have iPads.
Each student will get that consumable to be able to, what's nice is they can write in it, they can highlight in it.
So it's like a workbook?
It's like a workbook, but it's more of a
Personal book.
work text. I'll put it that way.
Mr. Eckhart, stop that. I'm an old folk. So then each year we'll need to purchase this book or no?
Once we do the adoption, the
Mhm.
consumable order will just automatically come every year. It's part of a bundled purchase.
So it's part of the purchase.
It's part of the purchase price. So every year we will get the new consumable and
I don't want to assume, but is this up for finance then?
yes.
Which
It's,
is-
it's budgeted, it's all,
Okay.
this is something, this is not out of the blue.
Okay.
We kind of rotate through textbooks each year, and this subject's timeframe.
Yes,
This is for 6 years then? We're gonna be
Yes.
using this
Mhm,
textbook for 6 years?
correct.
Our
Ms.
last
Ford?
adoption,
you had a question?
yeah, just
Go ahead.
piggybacking on that, our last adoption was 6 years ago.
Yeah, we use McGraw-Hill in our last.
Savas's.
So Savas, we really, we had 5 publishers come out. And they gave 45-minute presentations to the entire science department. So it was McGraw-Hill, HMH, Savas, TCI, and STEM Scopes. And really presented all the options, all the different online platforms, all the different ways that, we could interact. And the teachers, I will say, in some cases, they called the publishers back, multiple meetings. They really worked hard to try to find something that they felt would be a good fit.
Yeah,
So the committee that was working on this adoption was all middle school science teachers?
Every middle school science teacher.
Everybody had an input?
Everybody had an input.
so my last question is, unless you have a question, Mrs. Curry, is what were some of the, feedback, statements that made the committee choose this publisher?
I believe that what some of the things they were looking for is, how well it's going to meet the needs of all learners for students. A lot of teachers were happy with the consumable piece. The idea that there are hands-on experiences that they can, use to kind of piggyback off of the instruction that they're already doing. And I think it was also the platform aspect for the teachers. I know that when Savas did come out again to answer some teacher questions, one of the big pieces of feedback that they really liked was that you could download the, let's say, claim evidence reasoning, and you could tailor it to what we want for our students. So the fact that it is editable was a really big selling point.
All right, anybody else have any questions?
One more.
Or,
In the 6-year period, if we have any curriculum change, which we tend to have pretty often, how does that get adopted into, like, are we able to make those additions to these textbooks, like the Savas giving us new versions of it? Because I know that we're currently in New Jersey talking about a huge climate aspect of curriculum change.
So the good news is anything that they just redid all the standards in 2020, this book is completely aligned to that. With climate change, we can always supplement where we need to for any of those kind of initiatives that come out. The good thing is that really, even in the last update of the standards, the biggest change was really more adding the climate change in. There were some tweaks, but the science really stays the same. And anything new that comes out, the teachers are really good about being able to introduce that in a current event situation, or we still also supplement with, as we've talked about, the gizmos and Scholastic and other things that if something brand new discovery comes out, we'll be able to work with that to be able to do that.
So this won't change, but our teachers will proactively add
Yes.
supplement to it.
Mhm. They're always, as a former science teacher myself, I can tell you, the fundamentals don't necessarily change too often, but your approach and how the technology and how things are progressing, you always are playing catch up because things change pretty quickly. So, but the good news is, for now, a cell is still a cell. So
The
who
timing
knows
was
what the
perfect.
future will be.
The 6-year timing was perfect because we made those changes.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much.
You're
all
welcome.
right. Next up is the AP Psychology textbook. Is that also you?
This is also me.
Okay.
So we are in much need of the AP Psychology textbook. This, the textbook that we currently have is, again, it's out of our, we're up for our adoption cycle. So this textbook is Meyer Psychology for the AP course 2023 edition. Now, this is designed specifically for high school AP students and aligned to the College Board curriculum and exam description for AP Psychology. Now, to go back to what you were just speaking about, what's very interesting is College Board has already let us know that AP Psychology is going to be going through some tweaking with the course exam and description. It will not be next year, but most likely the year after. The publisher is well aware of this and has already agreed that when that course description comes out, because it's a completely digital text, we will be getting the newest update as soon as that happens. So we have the current, and then in the coming years, probably year 4, 5, 6, it'll be completely aligned to the newest AP Psych course exam. The text focuses on AP skills development. There's also some enrichment modules, I apologize, such as animal thinking and language that are involved in this. So if students want to move a little further, they can. AP style exam questions are embedded into each unit, and the electronic version is actually very student friendly and easy to use. This is the same publisher and platform that we currently are using for our AP European history. And the platform uses something called Launchpad, and it is a very user-friendly app. So our components, there will be a digital textbook for students. They will access that through the Launchpad app. There will be an ebook. There's also quizzes, exam preparation, and teachers have the ability, if they wanted to push out some assignments such as extra practice questions, essays if they wanted them to practice that within the Launchpad app. They will also get a teacher's edition with a full suite of online resources, and those assessments are all aligned to the AP exam. This is one of the major textbooks that is considered for AP Psychology. Many districts do choose to use this book.
Okay, so my first question is gonna be the same question I just asked about um, the textbook. I understand it's digital, whispered in my ear right now.
That's reading your mind.
Yeah, question.
There's no hard, if you're thinking about hard
There's no
copy,
hard copy.
there's no
right?
hard
So
copies
it's all
for,
digital.
it's all digital because of the iPad.
Okay,
They
right.
can
So
go
now my
direct.
next question is going to be, with our iPads, we have the ability for that to be audio if the student needs the audio, if they have a sight issue. I just can't remember. With our iPads, we have the ability for them to be able to read text.
Yes.
Is that right?
Mhm. Yep.
Everybody
Yeah.
thinking of
Yes.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure, because it was something that I was thinking about, making sure that we're, with the digital text,
Yes.
comes along with it. So the other question would be, would that be available, would some sort of audio be available if we had to need to get an audio book for the
Yes.
the sixth science book?
Yes, I also want to double check because, I will be honest with you, I did not, click through. I do know many textbooks on the platform now have where you can just press a button
Right.
and it will read the speech right to you. So whether you're using it on your home computer or the iPad, but I will follow up and let you guys know if that is in there.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I have a
Ms.
question.
Summers?
Is it typical for an ebook to be more costly than a consumable?
The cost here is because of the fact that, most, I don't want to speak for the textbook company, but it's been my experience that for AP textbooks, because they're almost considered college level textbooks, the price is generally a little bit higher than a, middle school science textbook.
Anything else? Ms. Moore, Ms. Fair?
No.
Anybody else? Okay. Next thing up, Monroe Township High School option 2 update, and I believe that's Mr. Snyder.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll start it off.
Yeah.
You'll start it off,
Yep.
okay?
So I just wanted to take a minute and introduce Mr. Snyder. So welcome to the team. And Mr. Benedica, welcome to the team as well. So he's our Director of Athletics. And Mr. Snyder, as he'll introduce, has multiple titles as well in terms of the performing arts and physical education. So the update on the alternate pathways. Dr. Higgins provided me some information to share, and we can have Mr. Snyder also chime in. Day 5 on the job, and Mr. Snyder's already up to speed on option 2, alternate pathways.
Day 4.5, actually.
Day 4.5. Amongst other, initiatives and things. Yeah. But this is a priority for him, in collaboration with the high school team. So currently, Dr. Higgins left off with a framework. And the piece that was missing was, let's call it the logistics, the exchange of enrollment process for the alternate pathways piece. So Mr. Snyder's been looking at the other districts. He's begun to create the forms. He's collaborated with the high school, who will likely be using Schoology as let's call it the management tool, the exchange process. So that's kind of, I can let you chime in a few minutes about where you're at. That's I'll call it the logistical side of things. The other piece the high school's managed right now is the scheduling piece. So we have some challenges with the schedule, and it just is related to coming up and putting this program in place later than in place prior to course assignments and course selection from the students. So we do have some electives that seniors take in the physical education department that will only run this year, can only run blocks 2 and 3. So we potentially have some conflicts with some students. And that's something Dr. Higgins is clearly working through, and some things can be adjusted and some things can't. And we have some ideas, and we'll loop Ms. Chanley in when she comes back next week about some potential solutions and workarounds and other options. But primarily the issue is, or one of the issues is our unified elective occurs block 3. Seniors that are engaged in the unified elective, whether we go through a route where any senior, any period could do option 2, they could choose to then not participate in the unified piece, that they would participate in option 2. We would potentially have an issue where we would have limited students in a class there. Or could work around it and try and figure out a solution to that. So we are currently in a place where scheduling is the issue we're running into. Looking for next year, we will have none of these issues because students would be identified and enrolling themselves in this prior to putting themselves in wanting to take the unified electives or some of the strength and conditioning classes and things. So this is not going to be a concern moving forward for the following year, but it is an issue that we have to work through and we're currently working through right now. So that's really our update. Once we move Ms. Chanley into this, if we move forward the way it is with some different variables, we could roll this out within a matter of a week or two. And if we have to take a more different look at this or even postpone it for a year or something like that, we'll make that decision in the next, within the next week or so. But that's really the kind of barrier we're at. One of the things we're looking at for next year, again, is a workaround for this. Currently, the Unified Physical Education Program focuses on seniors as participating. With this option 2 piece coming into play, it gives us an opportunity to open up the Unified program to more than just seniors next year. So we will have an opportunity to bring more students into the loop, which then really supports the seniors' ability to choose and pick their path going through the alternate pathways of the option 2 piece. So that's our update. I want to chime in a little bit.
Yeah, no, you did a phenomenal job highlighting that. I just want to say how excited I am to jump in. This is one of my first major projects that I'm going to be tackling. So I'm very excited to jump into this. And just to highlight a little bit about what Dr. Lehman already said, I'm going to be researching many of the other districts in the state that currently have option 2, what's working for them. I also would love to reach out to some of their supervisors to collaborate and to get what worked, what didn't work when they piloted the program in the district. In addition, as Dr. Lehman said, I do believe Schoology is the best course of action to go with for option 2 because it keeps everything right there. Schoology is very, very organized. And what I mentioned to Dr. Lehman and Dr. Higgins was when we do implement this, I would like to keep physical hard paper to an absolute minimum with this meeting so kids are not going to their teacher saying, here, this was signed, and then it's crumpled up and everything. I'd like everything to be on Schoology where it's very clear and very easy to research from my end and from the teacher's end as well, because this is a graduation requirement. So a piece of paper could get lost very easily. We don't want any issues at the end for any student for graduation. So like I said, I'm very excited to jump into this right away, and we look forward to updating as it goes on.
Yep. So the moral story is we can move forward. It will have challenges. It will have challenges within the schedule, potential options for students that may or may not be able to engage. We can postpone. We have some opportunities, but we need to loop in Ms. Chanley in terms of getting the big picture. But we are moving, as of right now, we're moving forward, getting everything in place to be ready to roll with it. So that's the alternate pathways update.
That's great. I think moving forward is really what, we're looking for. I don't think first year it's gonna be perfect. So I think that, parents and students should know that they're on the foreground of something new that's going to be really good for the students coming after. And that's what we're looking to do, right? Is to make it improving so that we can take more AP classes if we have to, or we can do other things. So I think that's, I know we have the whole health thing, involved as well, because they have to have that health marking period. So that's, to me, that's always a challenge, but,
And again, that all resolves itself next year
right,
when this will be in place for the scheduling process
Right.
next year.
Yeah.
So all these conflicts and things are able to be worked around based on, getting this in place. Because we will be starting the scheduling process at the high school in terms of preparing, sequencing courses in October, November to get ready to put things out to the public to start the scheduling process in January. So, as soon as we get through the summer, we're really kind
yeah,
of.
we're already looking at the next transition. I get it, so I've been doing transitions forever. Does anybody on the board have a question? Ms. Skirby can go first.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we've been talking about this for several months.
Yep.
Has the high school reached out to seniors, and senior parents and senior students, and asked about an interest in it, and we talk about having an issue with the unified program, possibly having enough seniors involved, do we know the interest level right now of the students that would opt to take this? Is anything being communicated out to them right now, because it's July 10th, 11th, and, school's gonna be starting. So what are we doing to let parents and students know that this is something that they can opt into for September?
Yeah, so I think the position's been get the framework and the structure so we know it can be done and what the parameters of if there's going to be challenges or not, and then put the information out. So, we had met today and within a week or two, we could certainly have not just information about it's coming, but this is the button you click to sign up. That's the approach they were taking instead of doing like an interest survey, just to say, hey, who would be willing to do this? And then following it up with, here's how you enroll. So information, when it goes out, will be, this is how you do it. So there's been no outreach from the high school yet, as of yet. But the approach has really been, look, they're not putting information out until it's in place and ready and the forms are done and the questions can be answered about, what do I need to do? What do I need to bring from my gym to prove that I'm going 3 days a week? We are developing that answer now. We have Mr. Schneider on board, so we can answer those questions when the information goes out.
So when would we expect students to be able to
Yeah, we talked about,
sign up?
within a few weeks, within a couple weeks. Yep, Mr. Schneider's made a priority in terms of, he's developing the forms and setting up the Schoology page. Dr. Higgins is going to work through the challenges that he's identified and communicate those out, just so we are clearly aware of, what classes are potential conflicts and things like that, or where the enrollment challenges may be if many students enroll during certain times of the day. So he's taking care of that. Mr. Schneider's taking care of the forms. And we set a date for August 1st in terms of a goal, but that would be the latest that we want to get things out, because clearly we want the high school to prepare for day one. And then this is like when Dr. Higgins presented it, it's a kind of program that the way it will be set up, someone could enroll anytime. So they could opt into option 2 because they're scheduled into a class for health purposes anyways. So they could start second market period if they have to make a varsity team and they wanted to enroll in alternate pathways. So it's really, at any point along the way, they can engage in that.
Okay.
I would imagine the first,
The first year, I know it's gonna be a pilot and it's gonna be, working out the kinks.
Yeah.
And as we look at other districts, I've looked into it, just, doing my own due diligence before our meeting. There are several districts that have, an option 2 isn't just restricted for gym. Option 2 is a much larger program of alternate pathways for, graduation requirements, that I really think that we need to do a better job here in Monroe to have that as a larger program. South Brunswick has a great manual, an option 2 manual on their website that maybe, we want to take a look at. But I think going forward, we need to have the conversations about what exactly the option 2 for gym would look at, because the other districts are doing it as, if you're taking the option 2, you're in a study hall, because the thought process behind that was, you're so busy after school in these extracurricular activities, sports, gyms, other avenues to get those hours, that you need the time to study. So the other districts have those students in a study hall when they should be in gym class, because that's when they're doing work that otherwise would be being done after school when they're in sports. So maybe as we look at that and developing it going forward, after the first pilot year, we look at that too.
Yep, yeah, and I think, we've noticed that as a pattern. South Brunswick is one of the frequent option 2 models we've been looking at, because they do have option 2, true option 2s for course advancement, course credit, through the various departments and things. They also have, embedded in the manual, I think there's courses taken within a district, courses taken out of college, and that's where it starts to merge with Mr. Moraldo's program in work-based learning. So this was the first step into our alternate pathways piece. We've talked, Dr. Rosella and I have talked before about specifically, many of our Ls come in with a lot of background and ability to even go through the option 2 piece with their home language, which would then really support them in the high school, not having to take another world language. So there are natural pieces that we're heading towards.
Yeah, we've done alternative pathways in world language
Yeah.
for, I want to say 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Which also bleeds into ESL.
So it's great, yeah. And it's, South Brunswick's been one of the go-to. That's actually the first district I mentioned to Mr. Schneider.
Yeah.
Ms. Moore?
I have a suggestion on the communication piece. So I know you guys are ironing out the details and the issues, and when you're ready to communicate to the students, I feel like it's imperative the parents are brought into this conversation at the very same time. And emails somehow don't always get the attention. I know in Genesis, we are supposed to sign forms, and that's one of the ways that you kind of lock the system and the parent goes and signs the form. So that's a great way of communicating. I feel like it's because this first year of seniors will be the guinea pigs, so to say, for this new program. Communicating with the parents simultaneously is going to be really important for the success of the program. Or, you know, we're really going to have some angry parents saying, oh, I did not know my child could do that. But we sent plenty of emails, but maybe if we made them sign that form, we have proof that you did read through it, this option was available. Because I sometimes lose emails too as a parent. I have 3 children, so it's natural. One communication will get, you know, lost. But that was my suggestion. Thank you.
To piggyback on that, Ms. Moore, you make a fantastic point there. Communication is going to be key in this whole process, not even just with the parents, because this is a graduation requirement in reading through, students can't come 3 weeks later and say, oh, I hurt my ankle 3 weeks ago, and that's why I didn't give my form in or turn my form in online. They have to be very proactive about communicating well in advance, which we know they will, but it's very important here all through, and to keep the parents involved throughout the whole process is a great idea and a great suggestion about having them sign off on the forms.
So new that the town also, typically parents learn from other parents. This is such a new program that parents cannot learn from other parents.
Right.
The school would need to really educate the incoming senior year well enough that the next junior year will be ready because of the word of mouth.
Right.
It's a great program. We're going to get a lot of,
Right.
you know, a lot of people will be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think this is gonna be really good. The one thing that I was thinking about, talking about communication, is to be cognizant of putting in to this plan, follow-ups with the student from our end, right? We do tend to, expect the students, we tell them once, and then we expect them to come back to us. And 6 months later, like, well, nobody ever told me that. Because we only told them once. And I have found in my experience that you can't, I manage people my whole life, and believe me, and I'm talking doctors, I'm talking master's prepared people, I'm talking people who are supposed to be smart, okay? And that doesn't mean they have common sense, or that doesn't mean that they are good at organizational skills, that they're good at remembering stuff. And I think that at our level here, it's important that we put a plan in to say, you know, even if it's, we put it on the gym teachers, or we put it on the guidance counselors. I'm not putting it on anybody, you guys know how to put things out, but I'm just saying, put into our plan a system of follow-up with that student, especially the first couple of years. Like, if you haven't turned, if your rule is you've got to turn your form in every month or every week or whatever, if they haven't turned that form in by Tuesday of the following week, somebody should be reaching out to that student. If they haven't turned it in by Thursday, that parent should be notified. Okay, like, we should have a process like that in place, because we don't do that really well. And, you know, we have students who wind up a week before graduation their parents finding out they're not walking. And that's a problem. I find that to be a problem. So I'm just like throwing that out there as a general suggestion across the board, is we should be doing more follow-up with the students and the parents. And, you know, there is so much coming at us, right? Even as adults and as that, look at me sitting here. I've got this here to do all my stuff. I've got this in case my kids call me and there's an issue at home. I've got this in case work calls me and there's an issue at home. So I'm distracted by 1,000 other things, plus I'm responsible for this agenda and for, you know, listening to all of you and being attentive here at the same time. It's really hard. So how do we expect, if we struggle, we have to be cognizant that our students need schools and stuff, and we try to do that, but we can't expect them to remember something because we told them the first week of September. So that's my, I guess, sort of soapbox. It's definitely been a soapbox for a couple of years, but, that's it. So, any other questions about option 2? Or alternate pathways? Extended school year, I'm gonna assume, Mr.
Yeah,
Caro,
it's me.
you perked up, so I'm not gonna
I
assume,
want.
it's you, go
Yes.
ahead.
So our extended school year program runs from July 6th through August 16th. This year, our program is providing instruction and services to 236 students, with 46 of them being housed at the high school. So one of the things that we looked at from last year, this year, was ways to maximize the instructional opportunities and just the opportunities in general for students that are housed at the high school. So we worked collaboratively with transportation to where we have a staggered schedule this year. So those who are attending ESY at the high school attend from 8:30 to 12:30. Those who are attending from at Oak Tree are continuing to attend from 9 to 1. And again, with all new processes, new things, we're continually looking at the process, trying to improve, iron out the kinks, because this is new this year. And of course, we are going to reflect and make some adjustments for next year also. We have an excellent staff in place. Can't say enough about our students. Every day, I have to tell you, every day, it's been 4 days so far. But every day, I can't say enough about how compassionate the staff is, seeing the smiles on the students' faces, seeing their growth, seeing their progress. I know I was around today at dismissal around one student who nonverbal gave a hug to the teacher. New teacher didn't know, so it's just seeing those little things and that growth makes it all worthwhile. And I saw the teacher kind of was tearing up too, because she realizes how big of a growth that is for that student. So that's one of the things that's definitely a positive, our staff and our students there. We've also worked collaboratively with our staff members and the community to include experiences like the bookmobile coming to our schools, also continuing with our transition adult program, with the work-based learning, and with our community-based instruction opportunities also. We're continuing this year and expanding upon with Mr. Moraldo's summer enrichment program. So that is scheduled to begin tomorrow, and this year we were actually able to expand to our pre-K students too. So again, we're always looking to try to evolve what we have, and Mr. Moraldo's been excellent in that process too, with as we were working together to schedule that with our students. Mr. Feldman, who I have to recognize because he's been an integral part of our transition to try to become more digital with our whole process, as with our registration and signups and everything through Genesis this year. Also, thank Ms. Chanley, Dr. Lehman, Mr. Wella, because they have been extremely supportive of our ESY program, of myself, and our continued evolution as we're our goal of meeting the individualized needs of all our students that are in the program.
Excellent. So, great job. I have to tell you, from a student perspective, she's extremely happy that she doesn't have to do all the way to Oak Tree. Now, I live over here in the Pines at Monroe, so I'm all the way over here. She used to go all the way to Oak Tree, stay on the bus,
Right.
come all the way back to the high school, get off the bus, then get another half hour later, get on the bus to go out to community-based fitness or to a job site. She spent most of her ESY on a bus. She is so happy, and I'm very happy because I follow her on Life 360, so I always know where she's at. And this morning by 9 o'clock, she was already back on the road to go out to fitness, and she was at wherever I don't know where they went today. I have no idea. I probably should, but I don't. She's on the bus, she's here. I trust that she's good, so unless I see something different, then I'll complain. So that was, so that's been great. So my one thing that I'm gonna say about going digital, we need to check our documents when we send them out, because the document that came out from Pupil Personnel's office said we were gonna get an email, we were gonna get a snail mail letter about the busing. So we didn't update that. So
Right.
here's again, paying attention to detail of when we send things out, because on special needs Facebook page, the night before ESY was to start, there was a lot of this going on, right? And Betty's great. She kind of jumped on it. I'm pretty sure she called you or she reached out to you, and we had it, because then it was like, oh, I do remember getting an email months ago. So again, going back to my comment about follow-up, you can't send one email and expect people to remember a process that's been in place for the last 15 years that I'm waiting, because she waited, my daughter's very high functioning, and she was waiting for her bus slip to tell her what time her bus was coming, what number was her bus, and what she was doing. And it wasn't until even I remembered, after somebody said it on the Facebook page, that it was coming by email. I went, oh, yeah, he did send something, and then it was, and I, so I was dealing with all that didn't come yet, didn't come, stamping the feet, the whole 9 yards at home. So again, communication, these little things really are important to the parents and to the students, who are counting on that kind of stuff. And more than one communication, and then let's check our, that's a standard letter. We're getting that same letter for 15 years for ESY. It hasn't changed except for the date at the top. So we really probably should relook at that and maybe change it up a little bit as to,
To send it through the mail.
that one comes through the mail from Pupil Personnel Services. But it wasn't updated. It's the same letter. The verbiage is the same. The only thing that's changed on the top of that letter and at the bottom is when Mr. O'Farrell came, his name was added. Now that Mr. Flom is gone, his name's been removed, and the date at the top. The verbiage in that letter is exactly the same since 2005.
So it came.
So that letter from Pupil Personnel came, but the letter from the bus company, these two different letters. So if we're gonna send a letter, maybe we just put everything in one letter, including the bus information. Just, that's just my thing, yeah.
Get rid of the cost of the postage.
When you go digital, you have to kind of roll for a while, and then you cut, it's kind of like cutting a cord, you kind of do a little at a time. You can't, it's people, because people are used to certain processes. Ms. Fuller, you had a question?
To what you were just pointing out, was there a separate email for the transportation? And everybody did get that email?
It was an email that came out that said transportation was going to be updated in Genesis,
Oh, in Genesis, okay.
but it came at the end of the school year with everything else.
So,
So it got lost in the shuffle,
right, and
so that's where.
the reason I asked that question is, typically we can, when you're sending that first email out, you can schedule the second touch point to go 3 days before the actual event. So you're not even doing the work second time, but it's automated, it's in the system, it'll hit everybody's inboxes as a reminder 3 days before. So had people seen that email and forgotten, they would have seen that email again and remembered. So, while we can put in all those man hours to send reminders, we can use the tools that we have
Right.
to set up the second automated reminders. It's just gonna go up again. The same email will go out again 3 days before the event. And it
Just
should apply
suggesting
not just the
It'll definitely be something that we will
Thank
improve upon for next year.
Thank
That'll be addressed.
Anybody else have any questions about ESY? All right, next is up summer programming.
So I just have a handout that highlights just some of the, sorry, you're writing, some of the overviews of the program. We began our summer program 3 years ago. This is the first year that we've been operating without the benefit of the ESSER grant. Summer program is broken into 3 areas. Our remediation services, special education services, which Mr. Arcaro just referred to, and our enrichment services, which is the bulk of our program. This year, for remediation, which is our summer school, we are offering once again 60-hour summer school credit completion courses, and students that are eligible for that are students that have failed with an average of 50 to 64. So it's through students in those areas. So we are running, as you can see, 8 classes this year. And they began last week. We are about to come up on our second full week. And our teachers have been doing a great job demonstrating flexibility and adaptability. In some instances, our classes feature students from honors classes mixed with non-honors classes. So our teachers have demonstrated considerable flexibility and really student-centered, student-first approach. And so far, so good. And we, the big thing with summer school, as we know, is that we monitor student attendance. We start at 8 o'clock, which is a challenge for high school kids when they get in summer mode. So we start each day with a brief meeting in the lobby there and just say, remember, showing up is the hardest part. And then the teachers take it from there. As Mr. Arcaro mentioned, we're starting our partnership with ESY this week. And we're in the areas of fine arts, performing arts, and STEM. And what we do is we take some of the teachers that we have retained over the summer for our enrichment programs. And prior to get up and running with the camps, we fuse them with the ESY program to give our staff some extended and some interesting learning experiences in those areas. STEM, performing arts and fine arts, as I mentioned, and it's a nice opportunity for the teachers at ESY to mix up their programming a little bit. It's a nice opportunity for the students at ESY to jump into some more elective, or at that age, sometimes at the younger ages, from special areas. Being at the high school, definitely with the older kids, definitely gives us more flexibility to do more authentic programming in our joining up with ESY, particularly now that we have some of the facilities here at our disposal. And like I said, the staff is fantastic, and it's a embedded professional development for our staff, because working with students outside of their traditional grade band, the high school teachers with elementary students and vice versa, it's nice for them to do that over the summer. It's good for their professional development as well. And then, of course, the enrichment services, these are sometimes, we call them camps, but we don't like to call them that because they really are curricularly driven learning experiences, and this is why we call it enrichment services. We brought back some of our older programs, rebranded them a little bit, and you can see that we listed there. Some of them, I'm not going to go through all of them. So far, musical theater has started off last week. They will finish up with their first show on Friday here in the Commons at the high school. Summer band started this Monday, past Monday, and they've been up and running for a few days now. And then next week, the bulk of our program starts with our STEM programs, our book club Beach Bash literacy program, and our summer art studio, and our culinary, or we call it Cooking with Cantor, named after its designer, Sadie Cantor. What's unique about some of these programs, I'll say the last two, the Project Code and the Lego League, these are computer science and STEM 2-week modules that are brand new, that are driven by 2 of the robotics and computer science systems that we are featuring here in our district. They are both different robotic systems. However, they both work directly with what we're trying to teach our students to do from the design and the STEM framework. These programs, we believe, are scalable and will align nicely and serve a larger purpose to what Ms. McLeod and Ms. Dresser and I are trying to do at the elementary level with our computer science and robotics initiatives. And Ms. Gasco, sorry. And then so basically, Project Code is the elementary version of VEX Robotics, which is currently being featured in grade 7 through 12 in the high school. That aligns with our Project Lead the Way curriculum management system, which we've been doing now for some time here in the district. So we're excited that now our elementary students through these programs are going to have exposure to these systems in an enrichment setting. And in our goal jump into the supervisor lane for a moment, our goal would be to start to fuse these with some of our elementary programs at the lower schools, which is something that we have not been able to do before. So we're going to hopefully scale these into larger programs and maintain our position in enrichment model as well. The first Lego League, this is an interesting program that we're working on, and I'll save this because it's a larger discussion for later in the summer once it wraps. But the genesis of this program is truly unique. It was delivered to us, thank you, Ms. Kirby, from a member in the community that had experience in this unique Lego system and competitive system, which we had not yet featured in Monroe. They've been running in our neighboring districts, and our goal to expand opportunities for computer science, robotics, as a predecessor, maybe some esports down the lane. We had an opportunity we're not going to call it a pilot because it's a legitimate program. It is part of our enrichment model, but we have created a 2-week program that we believe we're taking very seriously. We're calling it the Monroe Township Lego League, and we think this is going to be something that will develop into a much larger program year-round, in partnership with the community, because such a big part of this first Lego League experience is driven by community collaboration. But we'll talk more about that later in the summer if you don't mind, just because it's a much larger and in-depth discussion that features multiple disciplines, and I think it's something that we're going to be really excited about in the district. So all of this ramps up next week. And we are continuing to onboard students. Students are reaching out now that their summers are catching in groove, and parents, and we'll continue to reach out and respond to the community. And I think that's what makes this summer program so special. This year, since we kind of shed the ESSER constraints. Last summer we heard them, they wanted art camp. We know that they wanted computer science and robotics. And as you know, the culinary courses in our district are the most highly sought after and requested. So it's a nice opportunity to offer the community a response to that demand in a very manageable, manner. And I think the important thing, why it's important to this committee, is that all of these programs are taught by our certified instructors, and that ensures that they're aligned to what we're trying to do in September through June. So we'll keep you posted. We do have a website that parents can go to, and any interested staff members or members of the board. It's just our website with summer in front of it. And again, we talked, Mr. Arcaro made a comment, but Mr. Feldman and his staff has been fantastic. You know, on top of everything they do, we have registered hundreds and hundreds of students, and the tech staff has been super responsive in being even after hours and getting that to us so we can respond to parents, because parents are expecting transactional communications, and without the tech staff, we wouldn't be able to do that in a timely manner. So they've been fantastic. So that's our update for now. We're going to keep grinding away this summer. We're busier than ever here at the high school, and we'll keep you guys updated along the way.
Do you want to draw a connection with the Lego and the Project Code piece and potential for expansion, growth, or continuation in the school year, just as a teaser?
Sure.
Those programs are sold out.
Mhm.
So we know that they were extremely popular, but, you know, the connection with the after-school programs, I think.
Absolutely. So I want to say back in the winter, Sam Cloud came here and was talking about a program she piloted in zero period with, we called it the Winter of STEM. We secretly call it the Winter of Sam. But and we literally have taken what she started with that program as a zero period pilot. And now what's happening over the summer is going to be a refined version of that. And we're actually using a lot of the same staff. So for purposes of continuity. What we believe is in the next step of this is going to be continuous programming year round, whether it be zero period or after school or both. What we've learned about both computer science and robotic systems is they do function differently. The VEX robotic system definitely ties more seamlessly with some of the curricular programs. And I liken it akin to what we do with band. Where we have zero period, full group instruction and interaction, and then some small group pull out or push in enrichment in that lens. I think there's opportunities for that type of model. The first Lego League is, as we learn more about this is a very time-intensive, laborious commitment process. I think this lends itself to opportunities for some enrichment after-school programming. Specifically as they operate on competitive time schedules, much like, you know, it literally is a league. And it is something that I think our community is looking for. And the reason why we like the district managing it is to keep that alignment with our curricular programming and then ultimately post-secondary integration. Not, you know, and again, this type of modeling of program offering is not going to limit to STEM. It's a large conversation, obviously, but the idea of working out these programs, testing them with our teachers, using the resources, bringing in the students, responding to them and the parents, and preparing for this larger year-round programming. I think this is exactly what we're trying to do this summer, and integrating more elementary staff into the summer program this year, which is something we haven't done in the past. I think is going to be key to that, and that we've been able to do that successfully this year as well.
Okay, excellent. Anybody have any questions? Ms. Bora?
How can I not have a question? But I want to start with a compliment. I love these logos that you created. Great marketing.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's the students or your staff.
That's
team,
the
but
teacher.
This teacher, but this is great. Very exciting stuff. I had a few questions about what's the age range of, I know the classes are full, right? The Project Code and the Lego League is, so what's the age range of students that participated this summer?
So Lego League is very specific. They want students from 3rd to 8th grade. And the whole nature of that particular program, and it is an interesting curricular discussion, and that's why I would like to talk about, because there are other elements of it, public speaking, research, that ultimately will tie in with some of the things that our supervisors in humanities have been speaking about, especially earlier today. So they're very specific, grades 3 to 8. Project Code can be whatever we want it to be. What we've selected to do this summer is offer 2 modules in grades 3 to 5 and then 6 to 8. I have, just for purposes of my own curiosity for the Lego League, there were a couple of outliers outside of that grade band that I did admit, just for purposes of seeing how those ages interact. The idea of Project Code is to mix grade levels. They want that
Yes.
unique I'm sorry, first Lego League, forgive me. Yeah, FLL, they want that multiple grade level interaction as part of the challenge in which they're adjudicated on. Project Code is, there's various Lego sets that are age appropriate. So we banded the classes that way, and each grade band will have a different set that they'll be working with. It is worth noting that whatever sets they recommend, we always round up 2 grades.
So the current FLL summer program is the community member who volunteered to help aiding with that also?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, because I know that the teams from Monroe, and there's a lot of FLL teams that are winning every year, so you probably have a group.
That's where it starts. Yep, and we also have student volunteers
Yeah.
that have offered, she doesn't mind me saying, so Miss Miller, our teacher at Barclay Brook, is the teacher that has been charged with running this in collaboration with our community
Miss Miller?
leader. Yep, and we've already procured the services of some Monroe Township High School volunteers that have experience in FLL. And we're excited to see how it goes. We don't really know what to expect. The consultation from the community has been great as far as helping us set times and certainly with directing us on the ideal resources to acquire in a cost-effective manner. But the idea of this one thing from FLL that I've learned is that it cannot be done exclusively by the school if you want to be competitive. There has to be, much like athletics,
And outside,
hockey, wrestling, you need that contingency, band, chorus, you need that contingency in the community to drive it when the teachers go home and when the school closes down. And that's why, because the genesis of this program was through the community, why we think it's gonna take off.
it's like one of the sports where you can just play for the school, but you play all year round and you train through travel and club programs. The Summer of STEM is going to be exclusive of the 2 Project Code and FLL. There will be no common component.
Not necessarily. So the summer STEM is 1 week, which is a little bit different. And there is a little bit more of a design challenge emphasis where they'll do multiple design challenges throughout the week. Whereas the 2 former modules are just a culminating event at the end, which is the completion of the challenge or the competition itself. With the exception of summer STEM grades 7 through 8, they will work with grade VEX robotics. And we've been doing that for the last couple of years. When we saw Project Code sell out, Ms. Cobb, who's the teacher, we spoke and said, let's try to do a little bit more of a robotics and computer science slant, so those students that didn't get into code or first Lego League could have that shot. When we go into after action, we'll look at ways we could potentially onboard more students in future opportunities and how we would use the summer programs to set up what could potentially exist throughout the school year.
Would we consider even expanding it next year to allow other students from other districts to come in? Because
I think so.
in looking at the options 2 stuff on the South Brunswick website, they have a huge course offering over the summer for credits, for high school credits. And one that stuck out to me the most was the one for personal finance. Because I know the county, you had said the county had told us that we couldn't do it, but South Brunswick is for credit and for profit. So if we can revisit that, because I know this committee has brought it up in the past, and we were told that it's something the county wouldn't let us do, but apparently now they're letting South Brunswick do it, which is part of Middlesex County, so maybe that has changed. And if you look on there, they have courses that they were offering over the summer. Some of the courses are $1,200, and it is for their town and other town students to come and take those courses for graduation credits. So that might be something, this is fantastic that we have set in place, but even growing that into something even bigger next year where you can get course credits for that in the high school.
Revenue generation.
And big revenue
Because
generation.
like you said, our students are paying over $2,000 to be able to take the next level of math over summer.
Mhm.
So not remediation, but enrichment, which we hopefully will start next year.
Yeah, and that's the next.
$2,000 to come to us.
Right, that's the next evolution, I believe, and Dr. Lehman and I have been, as we've been tracking the community response, now that we are an official summer school district, so to speak, right? About the best, how that would best serve the community. And we do believe that the next evolution of this summer program would be the 120-hour course, whether that be through, because we had to turn a lot of even failing students away because we only offer the 60-hour summer school. So as we learn about the mechanics of how remediation works, I think that could be something that could then turn into enrichment and or credit.
Now, with the remediation part, how many students do we have enrolled in these overall that failed our courses?
Right now, that are currently enrolled active in the program, we're right around 24, 25. That doesn't mean, we've had several students that have elected to do summer school either online or, I don't know exactly where they all went. I do know that guidance tracks that because in order for a student, one of the things that guidance has done, I don't want to speak for the high school, but the guidance, when the student signs up for summer school, they first have to basically have the guidance make sure that they're signing up for a class we're going to accept, which is a nice kind of gatekeeping mechanism. So we do track where they go. 60-hour classes can be obtained through EduSeer.
EduSeer is the service that we're recommending this year, but there's a couple of different places that they can go. New Jersey Virtual is one of the places that we've used significantly in the past. EduSeer has a better price point to it, and it seems as though the experience we're expecting from it is going to best prepare them to take the assessment when they come back at the end of the summer in order to earn credit.
So it's a different mechanism that they can go to recover that credit. What we offer, and we haven't necessarily pivoted from this position, the high school's credit completion services is in-person teachers, support services when applicable in the classrooms. What I've seen so far this summer is that is a valuable service to our community, particularly in certain areas.
So at the end of that, do they have to pass the same assessment to get the course completion?
Not as the EduSeer is a completely different program than what we run here at the high school. The program I presented to you tonight is limited to the 60-hour courses on this sheet, and they're governed by the teachers in those areas in a pass-fail model. And what we do is we kind of identify our curricular milestones based on the nature of the roster. So for example, let's just say we're not offering this class, but for the sake of protecting students, let's say if we offered a finance class, we would look at the roster, and if some of these kids failed for XYZ, some of these kids failed for ABC, we would then speak with the teacher about what would be the most appropriate way for these kids to complete what they needed to do based on the discrepancy between the passing grade and their final grade for the marking period. Whereas my understanding of the digital online services, it's pretty much, and you go through.
Click through PowerPoints.
And then you have to come back and take an assessment.
So in the EduSeer piece is also 120 credit or 120-hour piece as opposed to a 60. So there's different thresholds there. If we were to offer a 120-hour piece, we'd probably have to take a look at a different way. And when I reached out, this was like bouncing back from COVID regarding our personal finance piece for the summer. It was at the time being proposed as our digital learning piece. I suspect they were hesitant in approving us for providing credit to digital learning. And that if we were to do this, we would probably offer it as a in-person course.
South Brunswick has a digital.
They do?
And in person.
So that's interesting. And we can have a conversation offline. We found some things that ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And I think some people haven't had to ask for forgiveness yet, if you kind of get what I'm going there. And we can certainly follow up again, but when I reached out, I was given the same letter that was given to Mr. Monroe when he reached out the first time, asking, basically saying, we've already answered your question. The answer is no. But we'll cycle back because we're post-COVID now. Maybe they have a different look at anything, whether it's virtual or in person.
But for the remediation piece, so
Yep.
if you take 120-hour online course, you have to take an exam to pass. If you come here and only have 60 hours, you get pass-fail. That does not sound, that doesn't make sense, right? I mean, it's not fair. Then you're basically saying you're forced here, because let's face it, our final exams, from what I've heard from parents in our district, the final exams at the high school, I know we asked for it to be here, and I didn't see it in our executive content or on the agenda tonight, a discussion of the failure rate of our final exams. And it's a serious concern, because the students are not allowed to have their final exams back to see where they made mistakes, and How are we setting them up for success to go to the next course? If you fail a math final and you don't know what you did wrong, that's a really serious thing to go through 4 quarters, have an A average, and fail the final exam. There is some kind of disconnect there. And if you're telling me that now kids that fail these courses can take our remediation class and get a pass-fail without having to pass an assessment, but you take it somewhere else and you have to pass our assessment, that there's a disconnect.
I would just say, from my perspective, the difference is if I was to go to, Acme Summer School Company and take their summer school course, as the supervisor in Monroe County School District, I would need to know that that product and that service accomplished what I would need it to do in order for us to avoid that credit. When the students are here in our summer school, they're members of our department that have an understanding of the student profile. So there's kids that go out there for third-party services are getting canned curriculum, which it doesn't matter if you have an IEP, if you were in the honors class, and there were different variations of those classes. So when you have that summative assessment at the end of a summer school, it's almost like making sure, and listen, it happens, click, 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 all right, I did my job on EduSphere, let's move on. That serves as a quality control mechanism, whereas in our summer school here, we have small groups. We have teachers, in some cases 2 teachers, working with these students very intimately. On our language arts 1 class today, they were outside reading and going through it together. I would believe that the efficacy of our program far exceeds anything that you're doing in a third-party service. And I don't necessarily think that we would need a summative assessment this summer to prove that the credit had been recovered. If the dynamics of the rosters were different and the courses were different, I'd probably have a different position. But I think that I don't know what they're doing with EduSphere. We should probably have them take a test to find out. Whereas here, these are our staff members. They were selected for summer school for a very specific reason.
We do that with students that take high-level math courses at Petty,
Yeah.
and they come
Oh, yeah, I
here,
can't speak to
they
that.
come here and they fail our exam, probably at the same rate that our own students are failing the exam, and they're going on to the next math class.
Right.
That is the problem. And then, Ghazala, you have heard from many
lot of
community members.
parents complain because
And now that you're saying we're charging, the remediation service is not free. We're charging parents to have their children take these courses, course credit completion. And quite honestly, at the end, you don't know if your kid really learned it or not because there's no assessment. It doesn't make
I
sense
think-
to me.
Well, there are assessments throughout.
Wait, hold on. We have 2 minutes left, and I don't want to be disrespectful again to the finance committee, which I've been for the last 3 months. So I think that we should make this a topic to first agenda for next month.
Yeah.
And this will be the
Yep.
first item on the
And I-
agenda, and if we have to skip the curriculum stuff, we'll skip some of the curriculum. No offense. No offense. Your eyes just-
It'll have to be approved in August.
That's okay, we'll get there. But we also have one more item. Is
Yes,
this
that's fine.
necessary for this warrant, or can we wait till August on the next
So
agenda?
I just want to, Dr. Higgins did provide me some of the data that you guys are looking for, so.
Okay, if you can share that before next month, so we can
see
have
these available.
the data in front of us.
Yep.
Next month, so
Yep,
we
But
can
I
have
do
it.
have the data that was requested.
Okay, so please, if you could share that with the board, that would be great.
Yep.
All right,
Um,
and then this annual renewal,
Yep, so annual renewal is Vector, so Vector is free. We use it to manage mandatory trainings. We have somewhere in the range of 20 to 30 mandatory trainings. And then we also use it for other digital content. Staff members throughout the district, whether you're central office staff, paraprofessional, bus drivers, anyone is required to do certain trainings, and there are different benchmarks, 1 year, 2 year, every 2 years, every 5 years. We picked this up during COVID as a free tool. This year, we have some federal funding, and we also have identified needs based on feedback for additional support for our bus paraprofessionals, our bus drivers, our in-class paraprofessionals, our lunch paraprofessionals as a targeted group, but what we're bringing on board could be used for any of our staff members. So we're going to bring on board, and I attached a clip of the catalog, focusing on, there's a piece on special ed law, there's a piece on de-escalation. Mrs. Ruella has reviewed this. They're self-guided trainings, and they track who attends it. And again, it's seamless. It goes with our bloodborne pathogens training.
so mandatory training.
Yeah, our EpiPen trainings and things like that. So there is a cost to add the catalog, but it's covered by federal funding for this year. We're not necessarily going to carry it on for multiple years, but we had an opportunity. We're going to leverage that to meet the needs of what we've identified in other, other areas that we have the ability to easily train. And one of the groups that we struggle with finding time to engage are our bus drivers, because they work, they go home, they come back, they work again. So to get the window of opportunity for them to engage in some of these very important needed trainings to support our students and behaviors and things like that on the bus, this is a great opportunity. So this is just a one-year opportunity for us. If we find it's worthwhile, we'll weave it into the budget and figure out where it fits, but we have federal funding to support us this year. And I just wanted to note, as a result of vacation schedules and things, there are some contracts, like a hipster came to me today for a renewal. So I'm going to review that. I'm going to hope to get that on the board meeting. I don't have the final copy of it yet. I want to make sure everything's clean, but just people in and out over the course of the past couple of weeks. You may see some things on the board agenda that we did discuss tonight per se. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. I know there's some professional development. Again, it's title funded, coming out of a professional development specific funding, and there's another one that we're pulling out of federal funding. So you will see those most likely on the board agenda. They were not prepared to come here tonight, but they will be ready for the board meeting. So I just want to give you a heads up.
Okay. Would you be able to share when you share it with the board that these are funded? Just to note that whatever we are approving is funded, because that just helps make that
Yep.
process easier for us.
And each year we get allocated different types of funding, and many of it is siloed in specific areas. And this is the time of year that all of our plans for expending those funds are due. So, and many times we change our plans, which we're allowed to do, but we put things on the agenda right now
Yeah.
as our plan moving forward.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. That ends the curriculum committee meeting.
Thank you so much.